And I believe in you. Plus, I know it's not going to even take a majority of people to beat these globalists. It's going to take folks that are willing to understand it and face what we're dealing with. Now, that said today, is mass bird and fish die-off connected to government testing? And we see these reports all the time. The first thing you need to understand is they've done studies with these no-stick stovetops. And when you first heat them up, they off-gas, and it will kill most species of bird. Because very small trace amounts of toxic gases will kill a bird because of their whole metabolic system and their constitution, that will not kill a polar bear or a rat or a monkey or a Homo sapien sapien. That's why they have canaries in coal mines. And this entire weekend, it was chemtrail central. The entire sky was sprayed from end to end. They then expanded. It blocked a wet weather front from coming in to central Texas and stopped us from getting the rain we needed. The planes always show up ahead of a front. And remember, we have literally, it's got to be more than 50 patents. And I've got to stop the obsession with research and go ahead and put out the eugenics film. I mean, chemtrails are 100% confirmed. How they do it, how they load it, how it all works. It's compartmentalized. Over a decade ago, knowing their program of compartmentalization, need to know, I knew it had to be mixed with a jet fuel. That way the airlines don't even really know, except for the executive level. The pilots don't know. It's not special aircraft doing this, though the military now admits they do have some special aircraft. The Department of Energy has some as well. There's been a giant, at least 18-year secret weather modification program going on to alter Earth's atmosphere because we've been exposing it. Now John P. Holder, the White House science czar, has begun to come out with some of this because it was hurting them too bad to just flatly deny it all. So, I mean, while the average person's sitting around talking about how sports only matter or how their 401k matters and nothing else, we're living on a planet where a eugenics, mass-murdering elite openly are modifying the atmosphere. They've got hundreds of secret torture sites all over the world, mind control facilities at Camp X-Ray on record, where they're manufacturing Muslim terrorists. That's why they grab up 14-year-old kids off the battlefield and take them there for 5 years, then release them to be al-Qaeda commanders, and then they're untouchable. It's the same thing with Anwar al-Awlaki, but again, it's hidden in plain view that he hangs out secretly at the Pentagon getting orders, even comes out in Fox News. Nobody gets in trouble. The average Fox News viewer just doesn't even register it when they hear it. Just like the massive weather modification program. But that's only a subset. We know about declassified chemical, radiological, biological testing, including lethal testing, going on at an accelerated rate from the 1920s through to today. People who say they couldn't get away with this, they haven't. Most of it's public. People who say they couldn't get away with the 9/11, it wasn't declassified until the 1980s. In 1987, when the program started, upwards of 500,000 women on record sterilized in the United States secretly. Babies murdered at birth because they had poor mothers. That's now been declassified. But before it was ever declassified, they had newsreels promoting the murder of babies at birth, and we have clips of that in English from the United States in 1930 in my film, Endgame Blueprint for Global Enslavement. The simulated murder of a newborn baby and how good it is. That they were showing people that. That's why Hitler was loved in America. Because he praised America. He praised Margaret Sanger. He praised all the eugenicists. He praised the Rockefellers. The Nightline people, MSNBC, they look at you like you're crazy. So I hand them mainstream news articles about it, and they still laugh at you. See, they can't face it. They say I'm crazy, even though I have all the admissions. Because if they ever admitted up to this, they'd have to do something about it. But because they subconsciously feel powerless against the government, they go ahead and deny it. Or they make excuses for it. Oh, those are isolated incidents. Oh, those were just rogue scientists. Really? Why don't they ever go to prison? Why do they get promotions for it? I'm going to come back, go over Paul Watson and the story I did with him. Stay with us. I know I spend a lot of time on chemical, biological, radiological secret testing, but when you know that the government from the highest levels has been giving the orders, at least since the 20s, to secretly murder people in the name of science, it tells you everything you need to know about these people. And then nothing that they say or do matters anymore, because you understand that presidents come and go, but this scientific dictatorship continues. And then you find out, by discovering history, you are empowered. You find out it's the Rockefeller family more than anybody, but also the British royalty and others, who on record funded the modern sciences from a eugenics perspective of how to dominate and control populations and how to give life extension technologies to their own families. It was Rockefeller grants in a quest for 30 years that discovered DNA and the double helix. Watson, the main discoverer of it, is on record saying blacks aren't human and being a big Nazi. And the media always knew this. They could read his books. That's why I put out Endgame 3.5 years ago, calling out Watson. And then about a year after the film came out, he made statements about blacks being basically stupid and not being fully Homo sapien. And he had to resign from Cold Springs Harbor Human Genome Project. What's Cold Springs Harbor? That's the Rockefeller Institute on Eugenics. And the German office was the Kaiser Wilhelm branch. And so I see a news story about a bunch of birds mysteriously dying, falling out of the sky. And I know about the past reports of this. Remember the other reports about green goo falling out of the sky and all the rest of it, and birds dying all over the country? And we know there's all this bizarre weather modification going on. They're also testing all these different microwaves and things. Is mass bird and fish die-off connected to government testing? 1977 Senate hearing found that U.S. government had infected hundreds of cities with biological agents. But they tell you that the TSA needs to put their hands down your pants and now scan your credit cards and copy them and confiscate your Christmas calendar because it's to keep you safe from Al-Qaeda. But the government's been spraying the public for a long time. Oh, but again, that's to protect us too. A mass die-off of birds and fish in Arkansas, which prompted a response by U.S. Environmental Services, has residents asking questions about the cause. Could secret government testing be responsible for the carnage? You know what I find interesting, and we need to get callers from Beebe and other areas where similar things happened, not just in that town. We're getting reports from other towns. Were there already a big influx of people in the town the night before? Did you see government trucks with their hazmat suits in the front seat? Oklahoma City, 9/11, First World Trade Center attack, 93. They always have a drill right before. What did the deputy head of FEMA, Mr. Kennedy, tell ABC News on 9/11? Oh, it's a good thing we got here on September 10th and we're already ready, and had moved things out to the front of the pier in the command center. And then the media was like, what are you talking about? So a day later they said, oh, that was a mistake. FEMA wasn't there a day before. Forget what he said. Remember that? Remember that? And then it got declassified a few years later. Oh, you bet. It's true. It all happened. FEMA was running a drill called Tripod 2. A drill where they had moved out the day before into command centers, simulating an attack on the World Trade Centers. The way you'll know this is a staged event, for sure, is if the hazmat teams or advanced teams were already there on New Year's Eve. Because if you look at the declassified 1966 bioweapon spraying in the New York subway, just the parts that are declassified. They didn't declassify at all. They had hundreds of Army doctors posing in nearby hospitals as regular doctors at emergency rooms to get samples when the people they'd hit with the bioweapon came in. So they'll have their people in place for one of these tests to see what it does to the humans. And again, there's other groups testing. Will the media figure out what's happening? What will the locals do? It's all gauging what they can introduce into the environment, what they can spray us with. I mean, remember last year? We were getting the reports, and then it was confirmed that they were shooting up little kids in elementary school with the flu shot without their parents' authorization. Kind of like Pennsylvania, watching you over the laptops at home. All right, getting back to this article, and then I'm going to shift gears into other news. I think we should make this the #1 search term today, dealing with the mass bird die-off, because where there's smoke, there's fire. There's no way this was hail, which no one reported hail. Lightning, no. You have small birds, large birds being killed, and so many times it is associated with chemical, biological, radiological testing. And almost all the time, they don't tell you. For years out in California, they'd be trying to eradicate different types of beetles and moths. And because these chemicals are known as toxic to humans, the state just kept it secret until people did FOIA request and were actually able to dig all of this information up. And then the population did discover that indeed that had been going on. So the attitude is out of sight, out of mind. Just don't tell the public about what's happening. I mean, there's no telling what this could have been. Could have been some type of magnetic system being tested. But I'm going to continue along this line, then we're going to get into other news here. Is mass bird and fish die-off connected to government testing? 1977 Senate hearing found that U.S. government had infected hundreds of cities with biological agents. A mass die-off of birds and fish in Arkansas, which prompted a response by U.S. Environmental Services, has residents asking questions about the case. Could secret government testing be responsible for the carnage? Well, I mean, let's go back just in the last year with Obama on television and the EPA saying core exit is not bad for you and that no one was ill cleaning it up in the Gulf, cleaning up the oil. Just like the government told the firefighters, police, and emergency workers, hey, there's no problem with this asbestos dust. You don't have to wear a respirator. When they knew full well, and it later came out, day one in their own reports, that it was deadly poison. But you've got to ask the population, the police, the firemen, the medical workers, what's wrong with you? Why, if the government's been caught thousands and thousands of times murdering us premeditatedly, why do we believe them? Why do we trust them still? I mean, I guess we really are prey animals. I guess we really are idiots. I guess we really do deserve it. Like Ron Paul said a month or so ago on the show. If people put up with the government sticking their hands down our pants, if the people put up with this type of abuse, if the people go along with this, then I guess we do deserve it in a way. And that's how the globalists see it. If we'll put up with this, then we're fair game. Well, I'm here declaring I'm a human being. I'm conscious. I don't want to be poisoned. I don't want stuff in my water. I don't want you doing this to me, and I'm going to come after you politically and try to bring you to justice. I'm giving fight back to you. I'm not just acquiescing like I'm a T-bone steak on the table, authorizing you to eat me. Okay, I'm not your property. Continuing here. Is mass bird and fish die-off connected to government testing? Again, some news says 4,000, others 2,000. I don't know what the real number is. Around 2,000 red-winged blackbirds as well as ducks fell to their deaths over a mile area of Beebe, Arkansas. On Friday night, U.S. Environmental Services workers wore hazmat suits and gas masks as they picked up the dead birds. An area used by the birds to roost was unaffected, leading officials to conclude that the birds could not have died from an illness or have been targeted for poisoning. Lightning, fireworks, and high-altitude hail have been forwarded as possible culprits. But no hail hit the ground. I've been in Iraq and back and not seen anything like this, Beebe resident Jeff Drennan told local Fox 16 News on Sunday. You know, my kids are out here playing, and you don't know if it's safe, he added. They're walking around with chemical suits, picking them up with gas masks and everything. See, the government tells you everything's fine, but they're wearing hazmat suits.